Dave Ramsey, the outspoken and intimidating finance figure whose financial advice is heard by millions of YouTubers. Famous for clips like these.
That's how this works. There is a proper way to do things. There's a right way to raise your kids. There's a right way to be married. There's a right way to treat your employees. There's a right way to work while you're at work as an employee. There's a right and a wrong thing out there. This relativism crap has melted people into a pool of stupidity, and they cannot breathe anymore.
Dave is an infamous figure on the radio and YouTube. The old school personal finance guru has a strong opinion on nearly every topic in finance, ranging from prenups to real estate. Preaching all kinds of advice, there is one thing Dave has been very, very wrong about, and it could potentially cost you years of your life and tens of thousands of dollars. If you're a common listener, you are likely aware of Ramsey's evangelical faith. While he's very outspoken about his morals, he does hold his politics very close to his chest, rarely mentioning the downsides to any particular candidate or party. Instead, his position has always been that the government in general is bad, and no politician is ever going to do anything to help you. This clip captures his thoughts almost perfectly.
Yeah. Well, whether you agree with someone's politics or not, if you look at the historic ride of the stock market as an investment, it really, other than occasional blips here or there, has not necessarily followed a party. It actually boomed under Bill Clinton. It boomed under Ronald Reagan. It dove under Jimmy Carter.
So this brings me to student loan debt. As you can guess, Ramsey has always maintained the opinion that paying off your debt should be your number one priority. Countless callers with hundreds of thousands of dollars in student loan debt are told over and over again that paying off these giant sums of money should be their number one priority, even if it means hunkering down, living with the gents, and eating beans and rice. Those who bring up the forgiving of federal loans are shot down almost immediately. Ramsey likes to joke that Elizabeth Warren is not going to pay for them and implies that there's a 0% chance that these debt numbers will ever be forgiven. For those with student loans, I'm here to tell you that Dave Ramsey is wrong. In the rest of this video, I'm going to spell out why paying off your student loans in full could be a waste depending on the situation, and why it's likely better to delay them with real evidence. For one, let's start off with some facts. I will try to keep this as politically light as possible, but this subject is hard to dive into without at least getting somewhat political. Right now, this guy is coming into office, and this guy's party, aka these guys and girls, have a number of members who are strongly for the cancellation of many things, including the cancellation of student debt. It turns out that Mrs. Warren, the upcoming administration, this party, and 239 other organizations have urged for this order. In fact, there is evidence for serious plans to abolish $10,000 worth of federal student debt on the first day of his office via executive order. While Ramsey likes to maintain this strong position that these loans will never in a million years be paid by anyone but yourself, he cannot deny that there are some serious plans being put into motion that go directly against what he is saying. While the president-elect's website does not specifically mention this plan, there is strong evidence that party insiders are pushing the idea with a coalition of nearly 236 progressive groups, including the American Federation of Teachers and the National Education Association, calling on him to use executive powers on the very first day he takes office. While Dave likes to maintain his strong position that these loans will never in a million years be paid by anyone but yourself, he cannot deny the fact that there are some serious plans being put into motion that go directly against what he's preaching. While the president-elect's website does not specifically mention this plan, there is strong evidence that party insiders are pushing this idea with a coalition of nearly 236 progressive groups, including the American Federation of Teachers and the National Education Association, calling on him to use his executive powers on the very first day of office. For one, this move would be a political win, as nearly 46 million American citizens are burdened with student loan debt. On the other side, the debt is owned by the American Treasury, which turns out can print money no problem for now. This partial balance move is essentially a strategic win for everybody, as the banks wouldn't be too pissed, and the general public doesn't really care that the Federal Reserve is printing trillions and trillions like crazy. Sure, the threat of inflation is just around the corner, and how we will pay this growing national debt is a question that nobody can answer, but these concerns are far too complex for public outrage. At the end of the day, the move would be a net positive for the administration from a strategic outlook. This is coming from someone who fully understands the long-term consequences and someone who's paid their student loan debt in full recently. It would be essentially a bailout for the thousands of universities around the country, a great way to promote even more debt and give school presidents a valid reason to continue to raise prices. Right now, the average student loan debt for a recent college graduate is $30,000. With the coronavirus inspiring lawmakers to push all kinds of stimulus, there is a decent chance a proposal to at least partially pay off a certain portion of federal loans goes through. While Ramsey is correct in saying that there is no chance of full debt forgiveness, the 2020 environment has created a perfect situation for at least partial forgiveness. I believe this because at the end of the day, nobody's business interest would be affected, and the only people losing out would be the future American worker that nobody really cares about. Stimulus money is printed and created, a process that affects inflation and essentially is a tax on the American people, although it definitely won't be advertised this way, and most citizens don't really understand the process and its long-term effects. As far as widespread full loan forgiveness, Dave Ramsey is absolutely right. There is no way a political figure with ties to Wall Street and big banks gets away with a move like that. Trillions are at stake for big players like Wells Fargo and Bank of America. Paying off student debt in full would, according to many economists, not increase GDP nor any other economic metric valuable to politicians or lobbyists. While the truth is hard to take in, politicians from either side act in the self-interest of themselves and their biggest fund contributors, which are definitely not the debt-burdened students of America. Politics is a dirty game, and in 2020, it's dirtier than ever. Thank you guys for watching, and let me know your thoughts about the video. Are you paying for your student loans, or are you waiting to see if they will be forgiven? As always, please make sure you hit that subscribe button if you enjoyed, and help me out by pressing that thumbs up.